The episode opened with Baki is in the middle of his meditation training, leaving the captain patiently waiting for him. After his meditation is done, Baki apologizes to the captain for making him wait for him. He asks the captain what business he is here and learns that the captain wants him to meet with a certain individual. After taking a sip of the green tea, the captain warns Baki that the person he wants Baki to meet is someone who is overwhelmingly strong. But before revealing who that person is, the captain asks him what the name of the most powerful animal that has ever lived is. Baki wonders if the captain is implying that his dad Yujiro is an animal, since he is the strongest in mankind. But the captain explains that he is not asking about the most powerful animal alive today. Rather, he is asking about the most powerful animal in existence, which is a dinosaur. The captain simplifies this question and asks Baki what the most powerful dinosaur is. This is basic knowledge to Baki, and he claims that T-Rex, Tyrannosaurus Rex, is the most powerful dinosaur. After getting the answer, the captain shows Baki a newspaper, which has the headline of a man who is supposedly more powerful than a T-Rex. The captain explains that a group of expeditionary found a frozen fossil of T-Rex while trying to mine an assault reserve, and noticed that a fierce human was also frozen right beside the frozen T-Rex. Seeing the mysterious frozen man, the expeditionary asked questions like, why is the human there beside the T-Rex? How did humans exist in the area of dinosaurs? And even if they did, why does it look like this mysterious human is about to attack the giant T-Rex? Their questions remain unanswered, and realizing that this might be the biggest discovery ever recorded, the group decides to call it into their headquarters first. After that, the archaeologists extracted the mystery man from the eyes and began experimenting with him to revive him. The head scientist expresses his gratitude to everyone for bringing him such an extraordinary find. He claims that the entire history of the world will now change thanks to this discovery, as everyone believed that humans appeared no more than 7 million years ago up until now. Still, this discovery cannot be made public and must be kept secret. As the head scientist, Payne believes that it will just wreak havoc on all of humanity's current thinking, and the impact would be too great if it were revealed all at once. So he decides to release the data carefully and gradually to the public. One of the scientists wonders if they will be able to successfully revive the mystery fossil man, and Payne explains that it will not be as simple as giving someone mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. But he still believes that reviving a fossil from millions of years ago is plausible, as there has been a similar incident. He tells them a story where in the year 2000 in New Mexico, a professor named Russell Breland discovered tiny drops of water in a piece of 250-million-year-old rock salt. Once he extracted it, he found that it was seawater from 250 million years ago, and inside there were microorganisms from that carefully preserved in it. The Professor Russell placed them in a controlled environment with the ideal combination of nutrition simulation and temperature. After experimenting on them for 120 days, every one of those microorganisms revived. So Payne believes that the layer of salt that preserved those microorganisms for 100 million is also the same salt that has preserved this mysterious fossil man, so he thinks it's also possible to bring this man back to life. After that conversation, Payne starts the revival project of the mysterious fossil man and names him Pickle. As the fossil man was literally pickled inside the rock salt layer for 100 million years, Pickle gets attached to a massive array of monitors in his body, ready to measure any physiological and neurological activity. Since Pickle lived during the Jurassic period, the scientists also adjust the temperature in the lab accordingly and immerses Pickle in a solution that constantly feeds him almost exactly everything that he needs for his bodily fluids. This complicated cycle continues for 3 months, but the scientists still fail to revive Pickle despite all their efforts. So one of the scientists, Alan, calls this experiment a failure and starts slacking off instead of monitoring Pickle. While slacking off, the scientist Alan begins craving steak and remembers that they literally have T-Rex inside their facility. So he decides to go there to be the first human ever to eat T-Rex. Meanwhile, Payne finds out that the tissues of the T-Rex are the same tissues that he found in Pickle's stomach. That could mean only one thing, and that is that Pickle was preying on the T-Rex. Payne cuts a piece of the T-Rex and starts cooking a steak with it. The smell of the steak reaches Pickle's room, and that smell wakes him up from his slumber. Waking up from his sleep of 200 million years, Pickle sits stunned and bewildered, seeing the machines and wires attached to him. The things he sees are incomprehensible to him. A wall of lights, straight lines running vertically and horizontally, circles transparent objects. None of these things had even existed when he was last awake, which to him was moments ago. He steps outside of his recovery pod to figure out where he is, surrounded by all these mysteries. The only thing that feels familiar to him is the smell of T-Rex. He follows the directions to the smell and comes in front of Alan, who is in the middle of eating the steak. Alan wonders what he should do as he thinks Pickle is probably going to kill him. He thinks of using his knife, but he knows that would do no harm. Then he remembers that there was a gun inside his desk, but he knows that even a gun wouldn't put a scratch on his skin. However, Pickle shows that he isn't interested in Alan, rather, he just wants to have a bite of that tasty steak. After eating the steak in one bite, Pickle then begins to smell Alan to see if he is food. But realizing that he is not, Pickle starts going away. Alan gets so scared that he instinctively brings out the gun inside his desk, and that alarms Pickle, and he begins to crawl and rage as Pickle slowly starts stepping towards him. Alan tries to tell him to stop by pointing a gun at him, but he should know better that Pickle can neither understand his language nor whether the gun is a harmful weapon. Still, to scare him off, Alan shoots at Pickle's feet, but in the blink of an eye Pickle basically teleports behind him. So this time Alan shoots right at Pickle's chest, but the bullets just bounce off his skin. However, one of the bullets scratches Pickle's skin and he begins to bleed. Pickle then throws back the bullets at Alan at bullet speed, and one of them hits him in the elbow. Alan thinks this is a nightmare and begins to shoot Pickle again after reloading his gun, but Pickle still shows no killing intent, shakes the gun off of Alan's hands, and tries to communicate with him by growling. Helen realizes that Pickle wants him to do something, but as he doesn't understand savage language, Pickle sends him flying to a nearby wall. Alan realizes that this is his end, so he quickly and slowly limps away from him. He leads Pickle to the place where the T-Rex is stored and locks him inside with the T-Rex. He thinks, just maybe he has saved himself, and calls the police there. The head scientist Payne comes there and learns everything from Alan, including the part that Pickle has been brought back to life and is locked inside with the T-Rex. Payne asks him why he called so many police officers if Pickle was already locked inside the freezing chamber. Alan replies that he will only understand once he sees what kind of monster Pickle is. He tells Payne that even bullets bounce off Pickle's body and that Pickle threw the bullets back at him even faster than the speed of a bullet. So Alan thinks that even 5 police cars might not be enough to stop this monster. One of the police officers in a black suit claims to have secured the location where Pickle is and tells Payne that he and his officers are going to storm and to restrain him. The special agent tries to introduce himself, but Payne doesn't want to waste his time on that, and makes it clear to him that he needs to send the army here immediately, as dozens of officers won't be enough to restrain Pickle. Although the officer doesn't want to argue with the Nobel Prize winner, he cannot help but wonder why they cannot deal with one single unarmed man themselves. He believes that no matter how much strength or stamina Pickle possesses, he is still a single person, and unless he is King Kong, the officer is sure that he will be able to handle him with ease. But what he doesn't know is that Pickle is worse than King Kong and probably stronger than Godzilla. Right at that moment, Pickle breaks out of the facility, making everyone realize that they are dealing with a calamity-level threat, so the officer calls for more backup immediately. But it is too late as Pickle runs towards them and begins to destroy the police cars. Payne figures out why Pickle is enraged and explains that since he saw the T-Rex dead inside, he lost the only reason for living, which was to fight with the T-Rex. That is why he has become so enraged, as the humans have stolen his rival's life on the other side to secure the army's assistance. The police forces sent word that an armed terrorist had infiltrated a nuclear waste isolation plant. Troops come quickly to help restrain the armed terrorists, but what they don't know is that the armed terrorist is actually a miniature Godzilla. Anyway, the soldiers are actually happy to be given this mission, as this mission has provided them with the perfect opportunity to test out the new secret military-grade weapon they have been developing. The soldiers reach there and the head army officer calls them reckless and irresponsible for making a false report about an armed terrorist. But having seen the situation here, he thinks that a suicide bomber must have been here. The army officer sees Pickle sitting patiently, so he asks Payne why he isn't just killing the man with guns and bullets. Payne explains that no matter how savage Pickle is, he is still a treasure precious to all humanity, which is why he cannot be killed. The army officers understand and promise Payne that he will capture Pickle without harming him. To do so, he decides to use the Iron Man suit, i.e., the multi-purpose battle baking in short form MPBM. The battle machine slowly approaches Pickle, but seeing that he isn't moving a muscle, the head officer wonders why he is doing so. Payne explains the Pickle is actually guarding the T-Rex that is inside, as it is the only thing left from his era to protect what is his. Pickle goes to fight with the battle machine and breaks it with one blow. The pilot realizes that he is about to be killed, so he desperately tries to capture Pickle, but Pickle remains unaffected, defeats the guy, and single-handedly holds off the entire army of the United States. The captain of the Special Forces wonders what they should do and goes himself to confront the savage Pickle. He strips off his modern clothes and approaches Pickle naked so that he no longer gets hostile towards him. The captain then holds out his hands, telling Pickle that he wants to hear his story, and although Pickle doesn't understand what he is saying, he also holds out his hand, accepting their friendship. So the captain promises to take him to the perfect place called Japan, where he can live with being similar to him sometime in the future. The United States Army escorts Pickle using the U.S. Air Force military airplane to Japan. The Japanese news reporter gets the news that the United States military airplane has landed here, and they revealed that they have heard that a primitive man is inside that plane who was revived from the Jurassic period. The captain and Baki see the news together, indicating that we are back to the present. In the meantime, the soldiers surround Pickle to escort him out of the airplane, and it is revealed that Pickle is finally wearing some clothes. Pickle remains on guard and checks his surroundings to see if there is anything dangerous. Just seeing Pickle on TV, Baki realizes that he is strong, but he is not just strong but also a savage who gives off a very primitive air. One of the news reporters tries to take an interview with Pickle, and seeing her beauty, Pickle gets interested in her. He grabs her face with his gigantic hands and then starts to get his way with her right away. The soldiers can't bear such a vile act, but no matter what they do, Pickle doesn't move a muscle away from the news reporter as he keeps taking advantage of her. Everyone has no other option but to silently watch, as they do not possess the ability to stand against an overpowered savage. All of Japan witnesses this atrocity, and seeing how innate Pickle's savagery is, everyone becomes hostile towards him. Everyone reacts differently to this situation, but attention is fixed on one thing, and that is the vile savage monster standing in front of them. However, Pickle doesn't realize that he has done something wrong and immediately goes to sleep. Right after destroying a woman's life, Pain broadcasts his theory to the world that during the 100 million years of the dinosaurs from the Jurassic to the Cretaceous periods, when a giant meteor struck the Earth, an enormous cloud of dust billowed into the atmosphere and blocked out the sun's heat. Because of that, the surface of the Earth was instantly plunged to the same temperature as the space, which is negative 270.4 deg Celsius. As everything on Earth became frozen, the giant dinosaurs and the insects, as well as all battles, froze right then and there. The impact shifted the tectonic plates of the Earth's crust, and as a result the usually stable salt rock stratum preserved the one specific battle between Pickle and the T-Rex. As for the two beings discovered preserved in salt earlier, the T-Rex was too badly damaged to be revived, whereas the human Pickle remained whole. Although Pain feels nothing but regrets for the female reporter who was the victim at the airport, he cannot move from the fact that Pickle is still a world treasure, as he was 200 million years ago. He explains that it is justified for Pickle to do such things as righteousness and morals mean nothing to a man who is primitive. However, the public doesn't agree with Pain's words and starts revolting against the protection of Pickle. They express their desires to punish the primitive man and tell the government to give him a public execution. A news reporter explains the situation, saying that ordinary citizens have descended on the front gates of the U.S. military base. Since the victim Pickle was a popular news reporter, there are hundreds of demonstrators who want justice. However, the U.S. military has not made any comment regarding the vile incident caused by the primitive man and has kept its silence. Due to this, the demonstrators' age has reached its peak. Amongst the demonstrators, one person comes forward to the gates, and that man is none other than Baki's father, the ogre himself, Yujiro, while he tries to make his way through the guards to meet with the new strong opponent. Another ogre named Retsu also sneaks past the guards to meet with Pickle. Speaking of Pickle, he is inside a fake treehouse inside a confined room surrounded by military officers. One of the military officers sees the fake dinosaur statue inside and commends the people for being able to build this place in less than a month of time. But he is not sure if Pickle would like this place, as there are books, a fish tank, and a fake dinosaur inside the room. He wonders if Pickle is even enjoying staying here, but since they still have no way to communicate, they don't know what Pickle is going through. On the other side, Retsu hides behind a truck and feels that he is trying to sneak into a woman's bedroom. He explains that the only reason he is here is because he has wanted to see the man since he saw the TV broadcast. Since the TV broadcasts, the urge started the moment when he first laid eyes on that mysterious savage. A guard on duty comes Jack's way, so he hides himself once again and gets behind him to secretly move around for the time being. The guard doesn't even notice his presence, so he easily begins walking towards the headquarters. Meanwhile, Yujiro tells the guards to step aside, but they still stand there, guarding the gate. So Yujiro tells the protesters to move back as he claims that he will now send these guards flying away. He activates his demonic ability and begins to emanate a red aura that makes him look like a true monster. One of the protesters, named Tomatsu Ishizuka, tells how hot he feels near Yujiro and explains that he feels like being near a hot engine. According to him, after Yujiro emanated his demon aura, something happened to the gate guards and they began to beat each other for no reason. The other guard doesn't even try to stop the other guards from fighting against each other and instead begins punching himself. The man in black Yujiro just stands there and watches as the guards beat themselves. Eventually he walks up to the gate as if he were pleased by the guards and enters the military base. The protester felt as if the guards were some unruly brothers who were caught doing mischief by their strict father, Yujiro. So they tried to pin the blame on each other by beating each other. It was as if they were punishing themselves before their father could punish them. Even though the guards were bleeding, losing their teeth and swelling up, they didn't stop. But at one command from Yujiro, they stopped instantly. Yujiro tells them that they have made the right choice and reveals that if even one of them had run off instead of fighting, he would have killed them then and there. He explains that when he emanated his aura, the soldiers immediately realized that it was better to kill themselves than die at the hands of Yujiro. That's why they chose to harm each other as their last resort. Yujiro commends them for their quick thinking and forgives them for making the right choice. He then enters the military building and the soldiers finally feel relieved now that the monster is out of their sight. They wonder what kind of monstrous aura they felt earlier that made them do this. Yujiro cuts through the lock of the gate with his bare hand and keeps proceeding forward while Retsu is trying his best to match his breathing to the soldier in front of him so that he doesn't notice him. But the real problem is that Retsu has to find where on this large military base the primitive man Pickle is hidden. Suddenly the soldier Retsu is hiding behind runs into another soldier, who gets into a conversation about how much of a pain their task of patrolling the perimeter is. Retsu decides to stick with the other soldier as he thinks that he might lead him to the primitive man. But suddenly the soldier sees Jack's shadow and realizes that someone is standing behind him. He turns around and sees Retsu, but before he can report this, Retsu knocks him out with one quick punch on the neck. Then he jumps on a network tower to get a proper look at the military base. He notices that one of the buildings stands out as there looks to be a base inside another base in it. So Retsu makes a grappling hook using a rope and a stone and goes to the building using it. Then he sneaks inside using the ventilators and finds the room where Pickle is held. However, he is not the first man to have reached this place, as he sees that his old acquaintance Shinogi is already here and has already defeated the guards. Both of them wonder at the same time why they are here, and Shinogi begins to laugh, realizing that Retsu is also here to see Pickle. Shinogi expresses that he also wants to meet this primitive man, and if possible, he wants to fight him too. Since both of them want the same thing, the first person to be here should get the chance to meet Pickle, and that is Shinogi. However, a person named Doppel bursts out of the dinosaur statue and tells him he's the one to have reached here first. However, they are not the only ones here. As Jack comes out of the small pond, Goki comes outside of the bed and Erichi breaks the walls to come inside. Another associate named Jack, who also climbs down through the ventilators and gets surprised to see everyone else present there now that these strong people have arrived here and have had their reunion. It's time for the main attraction to come out. They wonder who amongst them is going to fight Pickle, and before that they decide to see what Pickle is even up to. They look inside the treehouse and find Pickle in a deep sleep, or Ichi can't believe that he is still sleeping. Even with all the commotion out here, Jack decides to wake Pickle up as he can't hold his patience any longer and kicks the tree. Pickle comes out of the treehouse and starts taking a long wee-wee before talking with the others. Yujiro reveals himself to be there and welcomes Pickle to the future. Erichi tries to pick up a fight with Yujiro, but he realizes how much of a gap they have in between his Yujiro and scrambles his shoelaces and seconds Yujiro, then penetrates the impenetrable glass while using his sheer strength and asks Pickle why he is named after a salted vegetable. Well, when he is an ancient great warrior, Yujiro knows that Pickle cannot understand what he is saying, so he tells Pickle to just sense what he's trying to say. Like a child senses what their mother tries to tell them, Yujiro tells him that the 8 fighters alongside him have come to fight him and that his strength has piqued Yujiro's interest. Yujiro goes on to have a fist bump with Pickle, but as soon as their fist gets interconnection, the entire room begins to illuminate, indicating that they are both trying to push each other's fists in the opposite direction. Yujiro's strength makes Pickle think that he is the same as a T-Rex, so he increases his strength, so Yujiro uses one of his moves instinctively to protect himself and makes Pickle roll onto the floor. Pickle shocked to see such a strong man and gets up again, attracting everyone's attention. But they fail to have their long-awaited battle as the military surrounds the building and asks Yujiro to surrender himself. Yujiro comes out of the gate and the soldier immediately apologizes to him for bothering him. While he is enjoying himself, the soldier, Henry, tells Yujiro that he isn't here to arrest him as they just physically can't. Yujiro asks him how he knows that he came here, and the soldier explains that Yujiro simply went through the front gate, so everyone saw him coming inside. Yujiro asks Henry to just say what he wants, and Henry explains that he cannot let Yujiro fight with the World Heritage, which is Pickle. Yujiro tells him that he will agree to leave on the condition that Henry lets the other 8 fighters leave freely as well. Henry gladly agrees. So everyone leaves this place freely, except one, who reveals himself to be hiding on the tree. The guy then leaves through the ventilator, unintentionally showing Pickle the path to his own escape. On the other side, a kid named Rumina asks Baki if he can beat the primitive man, but Baki explains that he has no interest in Pickle and the only goal he has in mind is to defeat his father, Yujiro. But Reminder remains persistent, so he tells him that Pickle shouldn't be fought against as he is an international treasure. Since Pickle is a precious asset to humanity, fighting him is as impossible as making a pyramid his home. But Rumina still wants Baki to beat him as he has heard how fiery Pickle is and has heard that he is even stronger than T-Rex. Rumina finds it hard to believe that Baki isn't interested since Baki has fought a praying mantis and many other monster-like beings. Baki explains to him that he doesn't need to fight every single being in the world because he wants to become the best fighter in the world. Rather, he just wants to fight his dad and beat him. Rumina notices how happy Baki looks and mentions how Baki gets happy every time he talks about his dad. Baki never realized that and wonders for a moment if he really does get happy thinking about the ogre Yujiro. Meanwhile, that the US military base Pickle gets bored being inside the tree all day and night and recalls over and over again his short encounter with Yujiro. Yujiro's technique makes Pickle wonder what kind of animal makes that move and that acts like an unsolvable puzzle in his mundane life. So Pickle desires to meet Yujiro once again at the Kung Fu Training and Research Center. Retsu showboats his strength and gets applauded by Baki and the others. Retsu sees Baki there and asks why he showed up here today all of a sudden. Retsu assumes that Baki wants him to teach him Kung Fu. Baki nods and explains that since Kung Fu is a treasure trove of principles, he wants Retsu to teach him the ways to become a better martial artist, but Retsu refuses Baki's request, as he has no interest in him. Retsu explains that he has no interest in anything at all currently, and it's all due to the primitive man Pickle. Baki tells Retsu that he cannot just fight Pickle as he is an important treasure of humanity. Retsu of course knows that, but he still cannot ignore his desire to fight the man. He even calls this sensation similar to love and expresses how he wants to get to know Pickle better, wants to touch him and wants to grab him somewhere inappropriate. Baki understands that Retsu is burning with compassion and wants the savage all for himself. So Baki leaves the dojo in disappointment and wonders why everyone in Japan only cares for Pickle. Speaking of Pickle, he has been escorted somewhere else to a large confined stadium where Captain Striatum and Mitsunari Tokugawa come to meet with Pain. Pain thanks both of them for their cooperation. The captain reveals that Pickle has not consumed anything except water for a month and wonders how he is even alive and functioning. Pain explains that because of his pride, Pickle isn't eating anything as he only wants the meat of T-Rex. Pain thinks the Pickle won't eat anything except the enemies to fight him, so to feed Pickle, Pain reveals that he brought a fierce fighting bull from Spain, a large bear from Kamchatka, and even a lion to fight him. However, instead of fighting Pickle, those 3 fierce animals fled from there like little kittens after taking a glance at him, realizing that they were no match against him. Even the lion ran off with its tail between his legs. So there was no other way to feed him other than by bringing strong, fearless humans, but that's the last resort, and Pain has another animal in his sleeves that he hasn't eaten for 5 days, and that is a Siberian tiger. He releases the Siberian tiger, but as the tiger approaches Pickle, he kills it with one bear hug and then eats the tiger raw. The news of the Siberian tiger, which is on the verge of extinction, being fed to a molester by a savage man, spreads nationwide, but the scientist Pain takes full responsibility and tells the world that Pickle is far more precious than a mere tiger. He explains that the only food Pain would eat currently is Siberian tigers, and he feels glad that there are still 500 Siberian tigers left. Pain thinks that he should let Pickle eat every last one, and doesn't care if that would that species extinct. It's clear how obsessed this old man is with the naked, primitive man. Anyway, the old man claims that Pickle alone outweighs any other animal species, but this comment makes people get more furious instead of calming them. Retsu sees the news and decides to meet with Tokugawa at his mansion to solve this food problem. He tells Tokugawa that since finding food for Pickle is giving them trouble, he wants to help, but Tokugawa explains that the real problem is that Pickle's current food is an endangered species. From what Retsu has heard, Pickle only eats things that come and attack him. So he proposes to become the food for Pickle, as that would also give him a chance to fight him, even if it meant that his life would come to an end. Although Tokugawa isn't sure if he should let Pickle eat humans, he does take interest in Retsu's idea. Still he hesitates, so Retsu tries to convince him by making him realize how much of a miracle Pickle's very existence isn't, that they should do anything to preserve him. But Retsu explains that although he will come as the prey, he has no intention of being eaten, and he claims to be confident enough to stand against Retsu alone. So Tokugawa and the captain propose this idea to Pain, who immediately rejects it as he cannot let his ultimate treasure eat a fellow human. But the two remain persistent and tell Pain that it will be fine. So Pain agrees and lets Resume enter the stadium field, where Pickle is currently sleeping peacefully. The captain is intrigued to see how this battle will go, as this will be a fight between the great master of 4,000 years of kung fu arts and the natural strongest beasts of the world before the existence of mankind. He thinks that something amazing will happen once they face each other. But Pain believes that Retsu will be eaten instantly and it will be all over. Tokugawa and the captain believe otherwise and tell Pain to shut up and just watch the show. Being told to shut up, the Nobel Prize winner Pain falls into a state that he has never encountered before, but he still can't get himself to be quiet, as he doesn't think any human would be able to stand against Pickle at that moment. Pickle gets up from his sleep, sensing something coming towards him and seeing that it's Retsu, who makes a grand entrance, shocking Pickle. Pickle immediately takes a fighting stance, knowing that a dangerous man is in front of him, so Retsu feels grateful that he was recognized by arguably the world's strongest fighter and promises to put on a good show. Pickle begins to hiss like a wild cat as he feels alarmed by Retsu's presence and goes for the first attack, shoving him away. Retsu realizes that he doesn't stand a chance against Pickle if he only uses his sheer strength. So he returns to using his kung fu and delivers an overhead kick at Pickle's face, then trips him on the ground. The captain is shocked to see Pickle being beaten so easily, and he even sees tears coming out of Pickle's eyes. Retsu explains that the attacks he made against Pickle would have killed any normal person, so he commends Pickle and again goes to attack him as he begins to stand up. As he begins to overpower Pickle and hits him with several blows, Pain gets stunned. Retsu thinks that Pickle must be going through a concussion after taking all those attacks. However, Pickle reveals himself to be unscathed and smacks Retsu's head in the blink of an eye, knocking him out. Pickle reveals that he was not crying in pain, but rather in tears of happiness, as he has finally found a formidable enemy. Pickle then starts eating Retsu right away and begins ripping off his muscles. Even though Retsu tries his best to fight back, Retsu realizes that he won't live too long, so he removes his shoes to have a better chance against Pickle. However, his martial arts have no effect on Pickle's, and that mortifies Retsu, so Retsu begins to attack Pickle with his pure emotions, abandoning his martial arts, and that pathetic sight even surprises Pickle. But Retsu finally gets his conscience back, as he finally remembers that he is the Sea King, and he begins to fight with Pickle once again with his martial arts. He uses his kung fu to deliver deadly blows on Pickle and manages to knock him out. With this battle coming to an end, Retsu successfully protects the history of 4,000 years of kung fu that was bestowed on him. This Pickle falls flat on the ground. Retsu finally feels relieved and gets grateful for his technique, as it worked perfectly. Tokugawa, Pain and the captain watched in astonishment, and Pain finally agrees with them that martial arts is truly something amazing. He explains that he had never imagined a normal person like Retsu would be able to hold on this law, but Tokugawa corrects him, saying he phrases that incorrectly, as Retsu is the one standing tall and Pickle is the one who is defeated. But Pain tells him to turn around and claims that Retsu has clearly failed to defeat Pickle, since his finishing blow was not enough to give Retsu a concussion. What Pain says tends to be true, as Pickle starts to get up again, and that surprises everyone. Pain reveals to them that, when Pickle was first discovered at the salt mine, they brought him to the nuclear waste plant, where Pain ran him through a full battery of tests. His muscle tissue, bones, and organs were all complete surprises to the scientists, as all of them were far superior to humans of the current age. But the most striking of all was Pickle's cervical spine, which had incredible thickness and durability. The necks of bipedal creatures like humans cannot even be compared structurally to Payne's. And Payne believes that one can only find something distantly comparable if they find a large, four-legged beast whose necks constantly support the weight of an enormous head. So the circumstantial evidence only points to one conclusion for Payne, and that is that until a certain in Pickle's life, he was most likely a quadruped. In other words, he had 4 legs instead of 2 legs and 2 arms. Anyway, Retsu tries to attack Pickle as he begins to get up, but he dodges it by jumping high above the ground, although Retsu is using the secret arts that have been passed down since ancient China, whose system can only be described as incredible. It has no match against Pickle. Pickle takes his beastly stance on his 4 legs, indicating that he has finally gotten serious. So Retsu again takes his fighting stance, unsure if he will truly be able to beat Pickle. He stares at the beast-like stance of Pickle and sees that it is an unfamiliar, forward-bent posture. He realizes that it's similar to the posture that sprinters take before racing, and also to the starting stance of a sumo wrestler. But Pickle's stance is closer to the attack stance of a lion, which is focused only on forward propulsion. So he realizes that Pickle will suddenly lunge at him with an attack of super fast speed. But Rizzo doesn't feel scared and still wants to fight head-on to see how much more Pickle is going to impress him. He decides not to even dodge the attack and prepares to use the symbolic weapon of Kung Fu, the crushing fist. He believes that he can smash Pickle with this attack and tells him to come at him. So Pickle ignites figuratively, turns his body into flames, and dashes at Retsu with maximum speed. It's revealed that the attack Pickle is about to use was only used against his most powerful enemies, like Triceratops and the T-Rex, where Two hesitates for a moment. So he misses his chance to use his secret move, the crushing fist. So Pickle crashes into Retsu and sends him flying away at the speed of a bullet. As Retsu gets knocked out unconscious, Pickle stands out as the indisputable winner. Tokugawa finally gets afraid, seeing such tremendous strength, and regrets letting Retsu fight him in the first place. Pickle begins to get into tears once again and slowly approaches Retsu, seeing that Payne realizes that Pickle is about to eat Retsu and doesn't get surprised anymore, as what's about to happen is only natural. Tokugawa doesn't want Retsu to die, but Payne makes it clear that he cannot break the promise made to Pickle, so they have no choice but to just watch the savage eat one of the 8 great fighters on Earth. Tokugawa can't believe how merciless Payne is, as he will just let Pickle eat another human. But Payne reminds him that it was actually Tokugawa who wanted Pickle to eat Retsu in the first place. But still, Tokugawa can't let this happen and runs to the field to save his friend Retsu. He tells Pickle not to eat Retsu, as Retsu only thinks about him day and night and is actually his biggest fan. Pickle knocks him away and begins to scream, implying that he no longer wants to hear anything from the old man. He gets into tears again and begins to mercilessly eat Retsu, bidding farewell to him. His tears clearly imply that this primitive man's heart is full of sorrow, and Payne also understands that, so Payne sneaks behind him with a tranquilizer and makes him fall unconscious before he can finish off with Sue. Then Payne takes Retsu to a hospital, revealing that one of his legs has already been eaten by the primitive man. Retsu regains consciousness after some time to discover that he is missing one leg, but he feels grateful that he isn't missing his entire body. He regrets not keeping his promise to Tokugawa, since he promised him that if he lost, he would gladly be eaten by Pickle. He looks at his left shoulder and remembers how he just let it get eaten, and he begins to shiver in pain, even thinking about it. Retsu wonders why he was so obsessed with Pickle that he even let him eat him. He curses himself for being so overconfident to think that he would win against the man who is arguably stronger than the strongest man, Yujiro. Baki comes there to visit Retsu after hearing the news and seeing the state that he is in. Baki realizes that he must have truly gone to fight Pickle. Baki tells Retsu that he couldn't believe his ears when he heard that he had lost a part of his body, and to even think that it got eaten is more shameful. They both stare at each other, and before Baki asks him the formal questions, Retsu answers them all and ends the conversation by saying that a martial artist has lost a fight and as a result lost the function of a body part. He feels no shame in that, but what shames him is the fact that he spoke as if he was prepared for the consequences when he was actually not prepared at all, and he acted as if he had the bravery to fight Pickle when he did not. Baki tells him that he doesn't need to explain anything, as he has already heard everything from Tokugawa. Baki assures him that he did not deceive anyone and calls his action a simple mistake. But Retsu believes otherwise, as he claimed to have been prepared to die, ready to kill without the baking of a strong resolve. So he thinks that he has violated his own principles by telling lies to himself and Tokugawa. Baki mentions how Retsu trained his whole life to transform his body into a weapon, but now that he has lost his leg, he can no longer remain the deadly weapon he once was. Baki knows that the pain inside Retsu's heart is not coming because of his lost leg, but because of his inner turmoil. So Baki advises him to take pride in that pain, as he is still the unparalleled seeking martial artist and the true treasure of the People's Republic of China. Baki tells him that he once looked up the meaning of the word Retsu on the internet out of curiosity and found out that it meant fierce, intense, and someone who never strayed from their path. Baki still believes that Retsu has all of the qualities in his name and tells him that his true worth lies in his incredible spirit. Retsu appreciates how much motivation Baki has given him and bows to him in gratitude for showing him the right path before it was too late. Baki then comes out of the hospital and suddenly remembers how his father Yujiro too sometimes used the word eat. Baki knows that the word eat is an example, just a figure of speech when the fight ends. For example, Yujiro doesn't use the word win or defeat, but eats, and Baki finally realizes what he means and begins to laugh again at another dojo. The dojo master named Doppo shows off his skills and impresses his apprentices. He looks at a wire between two cement bricks and cuts it with his bare hands. Katsumi takes the steel wire in his hands and reveals that even swords cannot cut, implying that Doppo's hands are sharper than a sword. A subordinate calls Doppo as there is a call for him. So Doppo goes to take it and finds out that the call is from the noble elder Tokugawa. He learns from the noble elder Tokugawa that the Sea King Retsu was eaten and gets shocked to learn that. He also learns that Retsu lost against Pickle. However, the noble elder Tokugawa explains that Retsu didn't lose technically and got eaten by Pickle. After hearing everything, Doppo cuts the call and realizes what he must do. He calls his subordinate, Katsumi, to his chamber and asks him to have a seat while drinking tea. Doppo gives him the news that the Sea King Retsu lost to Pickle and got eaten by him. But the defeat wasn't that simple, as Retsu didn't admit defeat. Rather, he got eaten before he lost his spirit to fight. Hearing that, Katsumi's blood begins to boil and he decides to take revenge on Pickle for doing something so lowly to a kung fu master, but Doppo tells him to calm down and explains the real issue here. He explains that Pickle isn't underestimating modern humans, or to be more exact, he doesn't even deem humans worthy of underestimating. Basically, Pickle doesn't even consider humans worthy of fighting, and hence he has begun considering them as his food. But what Doppo is saying is exactly what underestimating means. So Katsumi begs him to not make it more confusing than it is. On the other side, at the Shin Shinkai headquarters, the Way of Karate, Karate Master Shinogi gets the news from Tokugawa about Retsu being eaten by Pickle. Like Doppo, he also doesn't take the news lightly and wonders what step he should take now. The news of Retsu being eaten spreads like wildfire among the Atsugi base reunion members, and every single one of them gets in disbelief. Meanwhile, Pain finds out that Pickle has woken up again, and that makes him wonder how much resistance he has to anesthetic, since the tranquilizer he used on him could knock out a rhino for days. But what's more terrifying is the fact that Pickle is no longer inside the stadium and has escaped to the open world. Tokugawa mentions that the only other person who managed to escape from this locked prison was the strongest man, the ogre Yujiro. Anyway, a man named Takeshi Kamachi, who is a master at karate, boxing, and weightlifting, roams around the city. Apparently in each of the dojos and gyms Takeshu went to, there was nobody on par with him, so the question arises as to what this man is doing while roaming aimlessly in the city at night. Well, actually Takeshi is searching for someone worthy with whom he can fight. Although he doesn't kill his opponents, he doesn't leave them injured either, so he is basically a very serious fighter. He looks around hoping to find a playmate tonight, and as he finds nobody, he gets disappointed. So he goes to an alley to take a break and takes a wee-wee on the garbage bag when suddenly a hand comes out of the garbage bag and drags Takeshu inside his own pee. The man reveals himself to be none other than Pickle, who only did it to take Takeshi's clothes, thinking that he could finally fit in with the townspeople. However, because of his huge body, he clearly stands out and people become wary of him. Pickle reveals that he has learned some words like stars, lights, fire, and heat, and takes pride in speaking human words. He clearly looks confused as he doesn't understand a single thing in front of him or what the people are doing this late at night in Pickle's Jurassic era. His only purpose of living was to eat whatever attacked him, but now that purpose needs to be changed, as clearly no one is attacking him anymore, but Pickle knows that he cannot survive without fighting, so he desperately wishes for someone powerful to show up. That's when a truck runs him over, so he thinks that the truck is actually a fighter, so he gets up to fight back and squishes the truck with his bare hands when a smell comes from inside the truck, and conveniently, it's all raw meat. So Pickle begins to eat the meat right away as he feels hungry and doesn't technically end his rule of eating something after defeating them, as he also defeated the truck. That brings the episode to an end.